Hi, this is Truman Booth, and welcome to my assessment of the Orkin contact forms on the mobile website as well as their standard websites. So, just to get started, let's talk about some of the top forms. There's two forms on the home page. Basically, there's a top form which is on the top of the page, and then there's a footer form which is at the footer of the page. So, the location of the form at the top of the page is great because it's easy for customers to find. And nobody's going to have any problems going to the Orkin website and finding the form. That is the reason that they got to the website in the first place, was probably to either find the number so they could call for a pest problem, or to get Orkin to contact them to help them with a pest problem. So that's great. The location's good. Second, the get a free estimate messaging for the headline is a strong headline. So that's good because free generally elicits action, so fantastic there. The CTA, get started. Get started is a good CTA for this execution because of the messaging involved. So get a free estimate, then you fill out your information, and then you get started. So great. Then also the drop down for the customer's pest control selection is good because it's clear, easy to use. It saves space over other design possibilities such as radio buttons. So overall, that's a good execution. Now, alternative elements to test on the homepage are form format. So filling out the form fields on the homepage may indicate to the customer that doing so will immediately send their information to Orkin, whereas this is not really the case, since they must move on to the next step in the process and go to the landing pages, the form landing pages, in order to complete the request process. So it's a little misleading. Maybe you're causing more work for the customer than maybe they anticipated. They feel like they maybe have already filled out some information. Why do I have to? I'm going to another form now, and maybe it would just cause some friction that maybe is unnecessary. So I would suggest just removing those fields from the initial form, and maybe test an alternate version where they're removed. Let's see, update the body copy to make that all make sense. So obviously you don't want to have or fill out the form below in the copy for the form if there is no form to fill out. So you would just eliminate that and change it to for your convenience and immediate attention, call the number or choose your pest control issue below and then get started. It should be noted that obviously no form data is going to be passed through outside of the pest control issue that they select. So there won't be any pre-filled forms other than that on the landing pages in this version of the form. We'll also want to test alternative headline messaging. So maybe update the messaging in a version to get a free, from get a free estimate to protect your home. This uses strong language and addresses the purpose by which the customer would have reached the site in the first place, so that's good. Then maybe something that pays off the Orkin Man brand. Orkin Men are on duty. Something like that as a headline. That might work well because the message focuses on the strength of the Orkin brand, and it provides the customer with a human solution to their pest control issue. So that would be, I think, two great alternatives to the current messaging. That can be tested easily. The testing methodology for this would be a multivariate test. You want to use, so you'd have two formats. You'd have the control with the form fields and data pass through, and then you'd have an alternative without the form fields or data pass through. And then you'd have the three message versions to be tested. You'd have the control, the get a free estimate control message version, the alternative one, which would be the protect your home alternative message for the form, and then the alternative two, which would be the Orkin Men are on duty alternative messaging. So that would give you 6 total versions of the homepage form to be tested. The KPIs you'd want to test are form completion rates and landing page completion versus abandon rates. And then the reason that this is so multivariate is such a good methodology for this is that it will allow for the form versions and the message versions to be tested simultaneously and very quickly. So obviously, very, very good. You want this done quickly. So with multivariate, all of these elements, and you can see the combination of elements also that will work together in the best way possible to optimize your completion rates and your landing page completion. Those that lead to landing page completion rates that are good and abandon rates that are decreased. So that's how you would test for those initial changes. Now let's talk about the landing page. So once you fill out the form, you go to the form landing page. When I say that, I mean the form on the home page. You fill out the form on the home page, you go to a form landing page, and they're great because each of them have different. Basically, it's customized to the issue that the customer selected. So if you said I want someone to help me with my pest control, then it'll show you pest control messaging and imagery. If you say you want termite control, it'll show you termite control imagery and messaging on the left. You see there. Another great thing about this form is that it pulls through the data that you filled in on the homepage. So if you fill that information out, it brings it through, passes it through, and you don't have to fill it out again. And cleverly, it uses your zip code to pre-fill the city and state that you're located in. So that's great. It's less information for the customer to fill in. Always good. You want to make it easier on them. Now, before we move on, I want to note that there's one of the big changes that I'm suggesting moving forward is this the big banner at the very top. It for your convenience and immediate attention, call the number, and it's an Orkin banner. Now, I don't think that we really need the banner there. There may be a reason that I'm not aware of that the banner is there. Maybe it's just a placeholder right now. But in my vision, I don't see a need for that banner, so I would remove it. So when I refer to the top banner, that's what I'm referring to in the following slides. So in the alternative elements to test landing page format 1, we would remove the top banner, just like I said, in order to free up extra real estate on the page. And I would also add video content to the top left and push the content, push the text content, text messaging content below the video content. The video content should pay off how Orkin solves the specific problem the customer selected from the home page. So if they selected pest control, it should pay off the pest control. The video should pay off the pest control problem. If they selected termite control, it needs to pay off how Orkin does a successful job at getting rid of termites. So these are the things that video should do. Now, video is great because it caters to personas who prefer the engaging and emotional aspects of video over text. And these customers also need their messaging and payoffs quickly. So video is an exceptional medium in this application. Text is fine, but it'd be better suited further down in the page where the customers who prefer to know all the facts and who are willing to read to get the answers are happy to scroll for such information. So there's certain people certain customers who just want to read. They want to read. They want to know all the facts about how Orkin's pest control product works. These people, they're willing to scroll. For many other people, they prefer to get their information in the easiest way possible, the most engaging way possible, and that's through video. Video is just a great application for this purpose. The form, I would leave it as is in this version. Now, in the alternative landing page format number 2, I would remove the top banner again to free up that space, and then I would add content in the top left that has a larger video window, and then with the phone number CTA to the right of that, as you can see in the version right here, in the mock-up. Then I would convert the form to a horizontal format, and this would reduce the overall height and scrolliness of the page, which should assist in completion. And then I would add the original text messaging, the messaging that we had before on the left. I would add that below. So just like we talked about, people who want to read all of that information will scroll down to get it, to find it. But we don't want to get in the way of the people who just want to see the video. So if they want to watch the video, if they don't want to watch the video, then they can call the number or they can fill out the form. But it's in their face. It's right there. It's easy to access, and they don't have to worry about excessive of selling, basically. So these are just 2 alternative versions to the current version that we have. Now, we should also test alternative landing page CTA messaging. So update the CTA messaging in the phone CTA and the button CTA to 2 different versions that reflect the messaging from the form messaging alternatives that we talked about in the changes to the form on the home page. So that would be the phone CTA. So the Protect Your Home version, you would change to Protect Your Home today, call the number. And then the Orkin men are on duty version, you would change to Alert Your Orkin man, call the number. And then with the button CTA, you would change the Protect Your Home version to Protect Your Home. And then you would change the Orkin men are on duty version to maybe something like Request Your Assistance. And so basically what you're doing is you're just having the CTAs pay off the messaging from the very beginning on the home page all the way through to the landing page. So you're just paying off that consistent message. Now with testing methodologies, I would stick with a multivariate test for the landing page form and CTA message testing. Now in this case you would have two form data pass-through formats. You'd have the control and the alternative that we talked about, and then you would have the three landing page formats. There would be the control, then there would be the version 1 with the video on the top left, and then the form is still vertical, and then you have the alternative 2 with the larger video on the top left, and then the horizontal form with the text messaging below that, a text copy below that, below the form. And then you would have actually 5 form CTA alternatives. So you'd have a control, which is the way it is currently with the phone CTA message, the current phone CTA message and the current button CTA. And then you'd have alternative 1, which would be the Protect Your Home phone CTA with the current button CTA. Then the alternative 2, which would be Protect Your Home phone CTA with the Protect Your Home button CTA. Then you'd have alternative 3, which would be Orkin men are on duty phone CTA with the current button CTA. And alternative 4, which would be the Orkin men are on duty phone CTA and the Orkin men are on duty button CTA. This would give you a total of 30 landing page versions to be tested. Now the KPIs you'd want to look for in the multivariate test are form abandon rates versus form completion rates. So these are going to be the biggest hallmarks or things you'd want to look for, the key performance indicators of which versions are outperforming each other. Now just like we talked about previously, multivariate allows you to test for multiple elements at the same time. So that's one of the great parts of multivariate. You can do it fairly quickly, and you can get your results, and very accurate, positive results. So then we should look at the footer. Now, there's the same, or there is a form. It's not the same form as the top of the homepage, but on the homepage footer, or in the homepage footer, there is another alternative form that people can fill out. And it actually goes to a very similar landing page, not the exact same landing page that the top form filters to, but it's very similar. So the positive elements of the footer form are the location at the bottom of the page is actually good, just in case a customer reaches the bottom of the page and wishes to contact Orkin. Also, the headline's great: Help Protect Your Home. So that it's excellent messaging, strong words that pay off why the customer would be at Orkin in the first place. Orkin.com in the first place. So those are two very positive elements. Now, what would we change? We should test. I should say test. We're not really necessarily saying these should definitely change, but we should definitely test these elements. So, sign up for Orkin. The messaging might be a little confusing. So, what is the customer signing up for? Isn't this really so that the customer can, get help with their problem? They're not really, sign up for means it makes it sound like they're signing up for an email list or something like that, but it's not asking you for your email, so it's just a little vague, a little confusing. And then I would suggest just mimic the messaging that you're using in the top form. There's no reason to change anything, so I would have it reflect, literally reflect. Maybe the background imagery is a little different, the color is a little different, whatnot, but the messaging should be the same, and you can test for all that. So when we test the footer, we'll just test it as a reflection of the header, not the header, but the top form version. So it'll just be the same thing, just on the bottom, with maybe a slightly different look and feel. So next, we can talk about mobile. So the Orkin mobile website is actually really good. The click-to-call functionality at the top of the mobile site is a superb execution, because typically a customer reaching the Orkin site from their mobile phone, they'll have an immediate need to address, and they'll be, they'll be searching for contact information or to call. So in this instance, they'll be able to just click that button and call. And then if you look at number 2 here, there's another button that they can click, and their phone will just call. So that's great, fantastic. Um, Also, there's a unique mobile primed phone number. So that number right there is actually different than the one you find on the website. So that's great. It allows Orkin to track sales back to mobile, which some companies have trouble doing that. Some figuring out ways to track mobile to actual sales or to contact form submissions. So yeah, great there. Good job. And then the customer pest problem selection, it's easy and straightforward. They're radio buttons. It's a light box execution, but it's very clear. So in number 3 over there, you can see that, and it's actually very clear. So that's 3 really good, well executed things just for that mobile home. Then if we look at the mobile landing pages, the landing page is actually great because it's unique to the customer problem selected in the initial form. So they said, I want pest control. I have a rat problem. So now they're being shown rat issues and how Orkin is the solution to those issues. So good job there. Now next we have the home page or the landing page form itself. Now what's good here is we are actually bringing the information from the mobile homepage that you've entered into the form, so you don't have to enter it again. So that's fantastic for mobile. People don't want to have to enter too much information. The more they have to enter, the more likely they are to abandon. So in zip code, same thing. It's pre-populating the city and state. So again, good job there. Then so let's talk about some alternatives to think about. So mobile customers, they're showing Orkin that they want their services pretty much immediately when they search and they start filling out. So if they come to the mobile site and they start filling out a form, you don't need to sell them any further. There's just no need for it. So moving them on through a more elaborate process, a more elaborate selling process, as the current form path does, is a little counterproductive. You may be turning people away or getting people to abandon the whole process by asking them for their name, their last name, their zip code, and then basically getting them started. They don't want to get started. They know that they have a problem, and they're going to tell you, so they can select pest control and then just say, help me now. But that's not really the way that we're offering it to them currently. Right now, we're driving them through a process where they reach the home field, the field forms, and then they get started, and then they have to read through. They have to scroll through a bunch of other information to get to the form, and then they have to fill that form out. So it's like I just filled out a form, so now I'm filling out another form after I read a bunch of information, or I was presented with a bunch of information on this landing page. It's just a little. I think it's too much friction. It's creating too many points where people will just drop off. So as an alternative to that, I would suggest we create a B version where we basically we remove the mobile form landing pages altogether in just this B version. Then below the second phone number CTA, where the current gateway form begins, the form that would bring you into the landing pages, we need to add 2 additional form fields, one for phone number and one for email address. So the idea is that with name, zip code, phone number, and email information, Orkin should have enough information to contact the customers who submit this form. They'll know where they are, they'll know their phone number, they'll know their email address, they'll know their name. So they'll have sufficient information to contact these people and start getting them going towards an Orkin visit. So I think that would be great for the customer. And you definitely would want to leave in the customer pest problem. So you'll want to know what the pest problem is that they're having, obviously. And once you have all this information, you want a CTA that would say, contact me now, send me my estimate. You want to pay off the idea behind the form, the new idea behind the form, which is to complete the form submission and to get these people help. So you definitely would need to change that button. Get started would no longer be applicable. So next, you And just sort of lastly, and this is more of a note than anything else, we want to think about removing the common household pest section from the bottom of the form on the homepage form, the mobile homepage form. It doesn't really seem necessary. If they've already filled out the form, they know what their problem is, or they know generally what their problem is. They've already told you they want to be contacted, so it doesn't seem necessary to provide them with more information. It seems more distracting than anything else. So we don't want to distract from that form submission. So just a note there. Now, testing should be done through, like I said, an A/B test. You'll want to test the new version against the old version and just see which one produces increases in form submissions. The strong likelihood that I'm suggesting is that the B version is going to lead to far more submissions than the A version, simply because you're not putting as much of a barrier between the submission in the B version. So with that, thank you for listening. That's the conclusion of the presentation, but I do appreciate your time. Thank you.